What up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you today. Honestly, I forgot that it was Monday, and I forgot that it was Hall of Fame season. I got halfway through my lunch before I got to hear the news of that Ray Trailer, the Big Boss Man, is getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 32. Ray Trailer passed away, honestly, a few years ago. I can't remember what year it was, but he hasn't been with us for a long time. And the one time that I thought that the Big Boss Man was going to get put in the Hall of Fame, honestly, was WrestleMania 27, with it being in Atlanta. I had heard that he was a Georgia boy, and that's where he's came from. And the Big Boss Man is one of those guys from professional wrestling that was my childhood. I think that his run in the WWF at the time was only 3 years. I can remember him being a big part of the build-up of WrestleMania 5. Him and Akeem, the Twin Towers, was the team that was going up against the Mega Powers on all those Saturday night's main events. They had a good match against the Rockers. I think that was at WrestleMania. I think I just watched that not even a few weeks ago. But that was a good one. And then from there, he would turn babyface and sort of be a good guy on the side of Hulk Hogan. And I think that the Big Boss Man is one of the best characters that the WWF ever came up with throughout its glory days. And even though his run was only about 3 years long, he never was a main eventer. He is one of those cartoon-like images that people my age will always remember from the world of professional wrestling. Now from the time that he was there, I can remember him being on a few Survivor Series teams with Hulk Hogan. I remember when Tugboat was taken out by Dino Bravo and Earthquake. It was the Big Boss Man who filled in, being in the corner of Hulk Hogan at that SummerSlam 1990, I believe that is. And the way that they build that up, I almost thought that it was going to be a tag match. I didn't really realize that Boss Man was going to be just hanging out over there in the corner. If you think about feuds that he was in, I don't think there's any bigger feud than Nails versus the Big Boss Man. If you were watching at that time, that was one of those things that when you were watching, even as a kid, this stuff might be funny and people might say it's fake, but this looks real. I mean, that's just the way it was. Nails was an escaped convict who Big Boss Man was in charge of when he was in prison. And Nails said that when Big Boss Man was the prison guard, that he used to do bad things to him, and that Boss Man wasn't as good as a guy as you thought he was. And he showed up one time, he jumped the rail, and he just clubbed the hell out of Big Boss Man with his own nightstick. It was like a prison riot inside of the ring. And from there, they would have a feud. I don't know what they were going to do with Nails once he was done with the Boss Man feud. I remember them putting Nails up against The Undertaker, and somewhere along that line, Nails ended up getting released, fired from WWE. The word on the town is that he actually went after Vince McMahon in the back, and some guys broke it up. Nails got fired. I think he ended up going to WCW, but what are you really going to do with this guy? They called him something. I think he still even wrestled in an orange jumpsuit. But he was exposed. It was what it was. Boss Man was one of those guys that took the money to leave WWF at the time. He went to WCW. I think he was actually there before Hogan, before Macho Man. He was one of those first guys to make the jump. Probably got a good deal of money. He never really found success over there. I think he came over as the Archangel, which was like him wrestling in those guys that like walk around making sure that the neighborhood's safe, and that didn't work. And he was a few different gimmicks that really didn't work out. They called him something that was like a police officer, but that didn't work. They called him Big Bubba Rogers, which basically was like he just was almost looked like he was a guy that was like in the mafia or something like that. He ended up joining up with the NWO, and then when the NWO got too big and they realized it, they had something where the NWO's contract ran out, and he ended up just going back and joining with WCW. But even then, he was just sort of like a guy in the background that didn't really matter. And when his deal was done and he was released, I remember thinking to myself that was going to be the end, and he ended up popping up again being the guy that was going to have a feud. He ends up debuting, I believe, at the King of the Ring show, Deadly Games. So I think that was in '98. He had a feud against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Him and Shamrock would end up winning the tag titles. He had a run in the hardcore division, and I don't really know when he left WWE, if he was released, fired, or just said that he was done. I was honestly thinking of making a video for quite some time, trying to tie it in with WrestleCon, talking about the wrestlers that are no longer with us that you wish you could have met. And the Big Boss Man, he doesn't have the biggest name. I mean, he's not the Macho Man. He's not Dusty Rhodes. I didn't get to meet those two guys either, but I think the Big Boss Man might be one of the guys that tops my list of guys that I wish I would have met. I've heard some stories of people who got to meet the Big Boss Man, and he really took the time out to let him know that he appreciated them being a fan of his, and I'm honored, and I think it's awesome that he's going into the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't think it's a big enough name to make me regret that I am not going to the Hall of Fame this year. What is weird about the Boss Man going in is that WWE is sort of weird on inducting a lot of wrestlers who are no longer with us, because they don't want to cast this sort of black cloud over the Hall of Fame each and every year, that a lot of these wrestlers that were very famous and very popular and everybody loved are no longer with us today, because I don't think they like to shine a light on that sort of thing. But it's kind of weird because two of the fabulous Freebirds have passed away, of course, Michael Hayes and Jammin'. The guy with the freaking curly hair that I didn't think should be going in with them, but I understand why he is. Damn it, I can't remember his name. He's with us. He'll be up there, but we've lost two of the members of the Freebirds, and it's kind of weird that they are doing that, because last year they wanted to put in a few wrestlers, but they already had the Macho Man who had passed away, and even though there was a lot of people that they could have, they ended up going in a different direction. So we'll see what's going down with this, but I wonder who's going to induct him. I wonder who's going to accept the award. They could bring back a lot of guys from that 1990s time. He's one of those guys that honestly I wish Hulk Hogan was still with the company, because he's a guy that could have done a speech like this for a guy like this and really meant something. I know that when you listen to the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, Austin has always had really nice things to say about Ray Traylor. He does, kidfully bury the guy for a guy who basically got lost backstage and didn't have a great sense of time. Everybody can remember the big angle where Boss Man was supposed to come running out and hit Stone Cold Steve Austin with a chair, and Boss Man missed his cue. He wasn't even around Gorilla, and they basically sent the other one of the goons, his name Briscoe. Briscoe had to come running out there, and he ended up giving Stone Cold Steve Austin one of the worst chair shots of all time. But Boss Man was one of my guys. I mean, he was one of my favorites. He should have been one of yours if you're around my age. Growing up in that time period, the Big Boss Man was like a big, huge cartoon character. I loved him, and him going to the Hall of Fame, I believe, is going to be awesome. See you guys down the road.